I think my section is no technical, and then more talk about the economy. I think will be easier to understand if you are not technical people. The topic is, but it doesn't see. Okay. I'm sorry. The topic is why Bitcoin become a hedge against inflation in emerging markets like Southeast Asia. First is about me. I'm the managing partner, founding managing partner of HCM Capital. I've been in this, indeed, the Bitcoin space is still pretty short, like about 2 years. But before that, since I founded HCM Capital in about 2015, we started the semiconductor component, internet, investment in China, and then later coming to invest in US. So I would say our first phase is those investment, and the second phase we move into blockchain, the blockchain and the cryptocurrency. So along the journey, I learned a lot, especially being blockchain and crypto. But those are a few portfolio companies we've been invest. Okay. And for example, like DCG, Abra, Galaxy, which I think is quite well known in the crypto industry. Yeah. However, because of giving this few year experience, I learned about how can block. Because let me say a little bit more. Before I did those investments, I've been working for technology industry for over 10 years, and also banking industry. In the major bank for also quite a while. So I try to find out what blockchain can be used in the real business or in daily life, but it's very difficult. So that's why gradually when the bear market come in 19 and 20, especially when COVID hit, I've been thinking about what should be, how am I going to deal with the future? And then gradually I find out, indeed, all cryptocurrency, only Bitcoin is the solution. Therefore, I moved into the third phases, which is a Bitcoin-focused investment, Bitcoin-focused other things, including incubation, education, etc. From 2021, I started to invest in a couple of companies, including Swan Bitcoin, including On-Chain Capital, Satoshi Energy, etc. Also, we also incubate some related project in Asia, in China as well. So, yeah, so today we are talking about the Bitcoin potential in the emerging market, especially now we are in Vietnam. I think this is my first time to be in this country. So I'm very, very excited to be here and join this conference. Yeah, so would I like to see more about, yeah. For example, on this slide, we can see in the whole market, the remittance accounts for quite high percentage of this market, including the GDP and the percentage of a GDP for the remittance in the traditional financial world. Therefore, we think nowadays, since we are living in the digital world, we think should have some digital solution for people, especially you don't need to take so much time and also so much fee to send the money across the country or even inside the country. Even though there's a fintech solution, for example, like GrabPay or those other fintech apps, however, it didn't change it at all. It only changed the user interface. Therefore, so we think the solution could be just like the previous section, Elizabeth already said. I think the Bitcoin and Lightning could have some potential. So this is the slide we talk about, especially in the emerging market, the unbanked people, we can tell there's a lot of people in this emerging country still unbanked. I think some of them are over 50%. Especially you see the cash usage in the left side. The cash usage, some is 20 or 30% of the cash usage. Sorry, I cannot read. And also, you can see the internet penetration is already high, like over 60%, 70%. So we think the region with the highest unbanked population in this emerging market will be a great opportunity for this kind of a new technology disruption in, for example, like a payment and remittance, and also to let people can own its asset, especially the unbanked, which or underbanked, which means the bank may not be able to service most of the people. Yeah, so therefore, we think Bitcoin and the Lightning should be a very good potential here. So I use this slide because I saw Albert interview with Kevin Luke talk about this word we like. Why Vietnam is, I think Vietnam is a sleeping giant for Bitcoin adoption. Yeah, I think this is the right word to quote. And also Cathy Wood in the Yahoo Finance interview a while ago talked about people living in the emerging market with the hyperinflation need a fallback option and the insurance policy. So, sorry, let me change it. Therefore, we think that in this emerging market, there's a lot of potential for Bitcoin. No. Sorry, a little bit. Okay, before we further look at the emerging market, let's talk a piece of news in the US first, which happened recently. Recently, I believe all of us has been following Recently, I believe all of us has been following very closely on what happened in the US, especially in the banking side. The Silicon Valley Bank, one of the, I think it's the number 15 or 16 bank in terms of asset in the United States, collapsed in about 2 weeks ago. It's been closed by California Department of Financial Protection and Innovation due to the insufficient liquidity and insolvency. Only 2 days later, on the March 12th, the US regulator announced the closure of a signature bank in New York on the ground of a systematic risk, especially, yes. And also, at almost the same time, a few days later, one of the almost the largest US bank, Europe bank, Credit Suisse, has been also affected. On March 19, Swiss government, indeed, the Swiss government came in to save the bank because they don't want the Swiss bank being the image of one of the best country to have a banking history being affected. So therefore, UBS purchased the Credit Suisse in just a little bit over $3 billion. So we can see these events happened in just the last 2 weeks. So we can see what's good, because just like think about 2008, indeed, when Lehman Brothers and those other bank failure, indeed, it won't happen in just a few weeks and then things get down. I think it's just the beginning. So therefore, we can see this year there's a more and more interesting thing to happen. So the problem is that I think if some of you may not know what's happened, is we can talk a little bit more about here. Is that because why the Silicon Valley Bank, those bank failure, is because when Fed raised the interest rate last year 8 times, from almost 0.5 all the way to 4.5 and above. So, and also printing a lot of money. The bank balance sheet got a lot of money, and then also the deposit, especially the technology company put the deposit there. But those are short term. But because the bank, they want to make an interest spread by lending out the money. However, because the economy is not good, so maybe they don't lend too much to company. Instead, they purchase the treasury notes, treasury bond, and to get in some spread. However, last year, since the Fed raised interest rate 8 times, then because the interest rate raised and then the bond price fall. So therefore, that's some unrealized loss. However, when those depositors, they want to get out the cash, especially been reminded by like a Y Combinator, like those Silicon Valley VC, then it caused the bank run, and then that's what happened, and then Silicon Valley getting almost insolvent, and then FDIC take over, Fed, I think the government take over the bank. So for such kind of thing happen, and the Fed created what called the Bank Term Funding Program, BTFP, to give those, especially those banks, the regional banks, some borrowing for the 1 year, and also without marking to market, then to provide, I think totally in the last 2 weeks, less than 2 weeks, totally maybe over 60 billion under BTFP program, money has been lended to those banks. So in this case, what interesting is that because of this bank run, bank fail thing happened. So indeed, since the Fed last year keep raising the interest rate, it's already keep reducing the balance sheet. However, you can see from the last 2 weeks, the Fed increased their balance sheet because yeah, that's the way they can save those banks. So we can see the last week, I think the Fed balance sheet has been increased all the way up, almost half of since a year ago, since the Fed raising the rate. So we can see more and more printing is coming. So that's what we have seen. So some people say, I think maybe some people tweet in maybe Balaji or someone say, American maybe become Argentina. I think that's the very, very good analogy. Okay. So not only the Fed lie, also I think this is the latest tweet from Elon Musk last night, is that he replied President Biden. Mr. President talked about those good things he has done for environmental, for ESG, but Elon replied, say, the banks are melting. You know, these two are not, we are not talking about Fed or talk about Janet Yellen, but we are talking about business, the greatest businessman versus President of the United States. So we can see how severe the situation is. So what did this happen? Okay, I think I already addressed some of that, but so I don't want to go too much detail. Especially, we already see last year because of the inflation, because the Fed raised interest rate, want to curb the inflation, and then the interest rate go all the way up high, and then the original target Fed maybe try to, this is a market prediction, this year want to raise another almost 1%, according to market prediction before Silicon Valley Bank and Signature Bank fail. However, now it's kind of a mix. That's why I think Wednesday, 2 days ago, Fed raised 25. Still raised because, may continue to raise for another quarter point. I think this is the kind of, I think Fed is in a very awkward situation of fighting financial stability versus the price stability. So we'll see. So therefore, I think my prediction is that this is just the beginning. This is just the beginning. So there will be more and more, maybe this kind of short-term. Oh yeah, by the way, not only the BTFP program, but also the Fed, the discount window, the regular lending as a last resort to the commercial bank. Overall, the last 2 weeks, I think it's lent out over 200 billion. So not only those 60 billion from the BTFP program, but also the regular lending window, which need to repay in short time, lend out more than, I think last week is 110 billion, and the previous week is 150 something. So it's the 250. Totally, I think the Fed through the regular lending window and the BTFP program lend out to bank or to FDIC, total over 300 billion. So you can see this figure because I just checked those numbers last night. Therefore, we think there's no too big to fail bank. There's a systematic crisis is coming. The USD, the US dollar rate hike, we think it will be influenced all over the world. For example, last year we can see the Europe, the EU area, especially after the Russia-Ukraine war, the supply chain issue, and then the cost of import rose sharply. For example, like the UK, I think the inflation rate in recent months is already over 10%. And also we see the Ghana, Africa, suspend the payment of the most external debt. And in July 2022, Sri Lanka government announced the bankrupt. So we see more and more this kind of thing happen. And also Argentina, which applied for IMF loan assistance, IMF loan assistance is also on the verge of bankruptcy. So this is what happened on the way when US raising the interest rate. You see it globally. So we think the emerging markets are more affected by the rate hike. But I would say many countries are still in a pain, even though it's not happened yet as of today. Especially you think about, unlike a 2009 financial crisis, because at that time is the relatively, I think emerging market recovered quite quickly. But this time you think about the situation is different, especially all the country has been experienced almost 3 years of a pandemic. And also because the stronger US dollar last year, so the weakening US dollar and also higher inflation rate all over the world. So we see this still in a quite risky situation. Yeah, you can see from this page. So 2002 was a year of a high inflation in the ASEAN, this region, due to the supply shortages stemming from the Russia-Ukraine war. Regional inflation average is 4.8% YOY in 2002. With Thailand, Singapore, or Philippines, we see the highest inflation. Even though this source showed like about 6%, however, I saw the other resource last year, 2002, Philippines is 8.6%, Singapore is 6.6%, and Indonesia 5.5%. So you can see how high this country's inflation is. So the emerging market has been obviously affected by the US interest rate hike, mainly manifested in the increase of a capital outflow, especially last year when US raised the interest rate, then some capital outflow and also sharp depreciation of the currency. So we can tell from this graph, yeah, the capital outflow drive up the dollar value, the capital outflow is dragging down the emerging economy currency. So we can observe the dramatic currency depreciation rate of what happened in 2002. Therefore, that's why I'm saying, indeed, in this region, the financial situation is is in risk. So, same as the US government, the Asian government also choose to high interest rate to fight for inflation. So we can see from this chart, especially this is an accumulated chart, adding up the prediction of the first half of this year and the second half of this year. So we see Philippines, oh, sorry, I cannot read clearly, but you can tell the aggregate is quite high. And indeed, we are now in 2023, but this is not the first time happened here. I like to use this quote, Mark Twain. History never repeats itself, however, it doesn't often run. Okay, yeah, in 1997, sorry, we'll go back. Okay, in 1997, oh, sorry, why is it different? In 1997, because in the 90s, the Fed raised interest rate 7 times over 13 months period to curb inflation, and later in July 1997, I think some people, like in our age, still have a memory. The Thai baht depreciated sharply. Then the wave quickly spread in the whole Southeast Asia. At that time, I remember we called Asia financial crisis or Asia financial tsunami, something like that. So many large enterprises in Asia closed down, workers lost their job, and the large-scale social and economic depression happened. So last year, as I just mentioned, 8 times of rate hike, including this time is 9 times since March 2022. So for example, like Sri Lanka recently declared the national bankruptcy due to the inability to repay the foreign debt. So as I say, this kind of thing maybe happen if the whole economy situation is, oh, I'm sorry. Okay, so we think emerging market, I think this is the key point, need a larger and more liquid and more secure alternative monetary system. Otherwise, you think about that, let's put it aside. If the US dollar, US government is in the current situation, then what else we need? Yeah, some people say maybe China is strong now. However, because the RMB is not international, not like the international currency yet, I think it's still far to be accepted as a global reserve currency. So Europe, gold, therefore. So I mean, I just want to use this to let everyone to think about what will be the alternative. So let's think about Bitcoin. Okay. Yeah, I think everyone here, most people know, Bitcoin was created in 2008 after, I think, yeah, I just quickly go over. After the financial crisis, also 2008 financial crisis. We generally believe Bitcoin must have some connection with the economic environment at that time. Yes, Satoshi Nakamoto maybe has already prepared the white paper for a while, but not released until the Lehman and the 2008 financial crisis. So Bitcoin was created to help get rid of the drawback of the traditional currency system. First, the government monetized and overissued the currency. Second, the currency is unstable, especially in countries with unstable political situation. So these 2 points are the inherent drawback of the traditional legacy currency system in various countries around the world. And the recent financial incident just verified this drawback. So the founder of Bitcoin set out to create a peer-to-peer digital cash system without the need of a trusted third party. So I try to say about this basic of a Bitcoin to remind everyone. Indeed, when we are in 2023 and in this kind of a bank run, bank fail, even from USA, then to think about what will be the next. So indeed, for me, I mean, I just want to jump in, you know. When mentioned about this, I think sometimes we talk about prediction, forecast, or what's happened, but indeed, I don't know how's your impression, or maybe later we can have a Q&A or discussion, or in the back. For me, I think this trend is so obvious. This is not a prediction. This is so obvious. Yeah. Otherwise, you think about what will be the solution. Yeah. So Bitcoin, the digital scarcity, Bitcoin is so valuable, and not because of a particular feature, but instead it's because it achieves finite digital scarcity. The total supply of Bitcoin is fixed, which is 21 million. Everyone knows. This attribute to determine that Bitcoin is a deflationary over time by nature. So still here, I wanted to mention about maybe, some people, especially I know some podcasts, people talk about other crypto, say Bitcoin is for wartime, but other crypto is for peacetime. I think maybe some of you know who is talking about this. So anyway, because the Bitcoin is backed by energy. Indeed, it's backed by energy, also under the internet, and also backed by hardware, backed by ASIC. So this is I would say monetary energy. So while other crypto is backed by certain venture capital, and they have an unlimited supply, the value of those projects subject to the market trust and the positive response to the founders behind it. So we all know the collapse of two famous projects last year, Luna and the Solana, which seemed promising at the beginning. However, we know it's a scam, or maybe, I don't want to say Solana is a scam, but however, we know very obviously it's backed by venture capital. What I heard 2 months ago is that those VC, they are backing for other new projects already. That's why getting less noisy on Solana, even recent day. Anyway, we know about that. I don't want to talk too much about those other crypto. Especially, I want to mention is that I'm the person, I can say that, is because you look at my portfolio company. I've been investing in a few largest crypto company in the world, back to 5 years ago, 6 years ago, 4 years ago. So, you kind of, if it's speaking out from my mouth, then what am I thinking? So anyway, so hope this can help to make you to make this comparison and get convinced by yourself. So, okay, this is FTX thing. We just further take a look, because why I want to mention this slide is because when FTX collapsed in late 2022, before that, FTX, Sam Bankman-Fried, he devoted a lot of time and money to maintain the relationship with the regulation in Washington, D.C. The whole family has a relatively deep connection with those political organizations of maybe the current ruling party. The collapse of FTX as the largest crypto-related bankruptcy ever. Bitcoin is the different. It's not backed by any VC or political group, but by energy. So this is the best. So especially you see the right bottom corner. This is my team. They created this cartoon. So you can tell, right? What's that? Oh, the washing machine. The washing machine. You see, but the DOJ just turn his back. Oh. And then somebody got the money, which is what's that? Campaign. Anyway, sorry, I'm not an American, but this is what we observe. So we think Bitcoin is the solution, the best solution. The benefit of holding Bitcoin, a centralized system is at the risk you take by trusting your asset in a third party. For example, like the left hand, right? Silicon Valley Bank, the bank run, people waiting to get the money out. Oh, I think yesterday I read the article talk about CEO of a Citi, Wong, tell the reporter, say, now the bank run will get faster than before. Yes, because everyone use the mobile app. So you can, with a few clicks, you can get out of your money instead of waiting on the line. So you got to think about, now, we are living in a digital world, right? Another thing, but however, all the way when we grew up, we always have this kind of a traditional thinking, saying, oh, what should be what, But indeed, a lot of things keep changing. So therefore, what I'm trying to say is that in the current modern era of a bank run will be run much faster than before, because there's no way to stop it. In about, like say, 1 hour, 2 hours, you can withdraw your money from your mobile app instead of waiting on the line. So we gotta be, anyway, wait and see. So therefore, so today we have a new system that is decentralized and allow us to take back our own power with money. So I think the right chart is talk about hyper-Bitcoinization, which I think is one of the meme in recent week, posted by, I think it's Balaji. Yeah, but we think, Bitcoin value will go up, infinity in the long run. Especially, I like to comment one comment on this chart, because when they are doing the 1 million per Bitcoin bet, indeed, if a Bitcoin hit 1 million, either it's 90 days or 9 months or 9 years, I think people won't sell that Bitcoin at the 1 million. You think about that, why? Just like you won't trade the, 1 trillion per dollar for Zimbabwe, dollar, something like that. If you know that kind of thing happen, it's not a Bitcoin at 1 million, but because we get used to call in this way. However, because of the devaluation of the US dollar. So that's why I'm saying, I think when Bitcoin hit 1 million, if suddenly, especially very fast, I think people won't willing to sell Bitcoin. Therefore, that's why we always say 1 BTC equal to 1 BTC. So we think the Bitcoinization is happening. Why 40 years ago, almost 40 years ago, the Austrian economist Hayek try to introduce some alternative monetary system, if someone have not heard about this before, to the current one. So maybe I still like to call again. I don't believe we should ever have a good money again before we take the thing out of the hand of government. Like we cannot take them violently out of the hand of government. All we can do is by some slight roundabout way introduce something they cannot stop. So if we look, this is almost 40 years ago, but if we look at the right chart, I use the mining, the mineral crystallization process scheme chart to talk about this. Is that the Bitcoinization is happening. It is on the, I would say, in the second phase. I can talk a little bit more about this. According to that, we are still in the new creation phases, characterized by a very kind of fever activities around wallet, exchange, node, mining pool, micro bubble, supported by a strong inflow of engineering talent, like most of you. So the blue curve is the new creation rate, which describes the formation of aggregated, the ultimately combined to form a crystal lattice. The red line is the crystal growth rate with the saturation crystallization achieved at the top right and the flat part of the S-curve. Therefore, also you can see the right-hand y-axis. So the Bitcoin on the way will be from the store of value to medium of exchange and to finally unit of account. So therefore, the estimate of how valuable Bitcoin would become after global hyper-Bitcoinization vary based on what weighting is, including for different store of value. For example, like to replace gold plus government money plus real estate plus stock, bond, art, oil, and other commodity, all used for the purpose today. So considering Bitcoin represents an existential threat to the government fiat money and central bank, we must also consider their decision from a game theory perspective. Yeah, you think about what are they going to do. Of course, we wish there's a more and more El Salvador, more and more Nayib Bukele, this kind of president happen. Yes, when game theory kick in, the scheme kick in, maybe there will be more El Salvador, more President Bukele to come, because the country gets stronger, wealthier, then I think others will follow. Anyway, that will be very interesting to see, to wait and see. Okay. So when Bitcoin become the world reserve preferred currency, BTC will no longer be priced in any fiat equivalent. So one BTC will be worth to one BTC, and BTC won't regularly be exchanged or sold for any other currency. All goods and services will be available for BTC, and critically, the economy will be deflationary as opposed to inflationary. So by conclusion, I would like to use this as my concluding slide for my speech. So we talk about cryptocurrency, we talk about fiat money, then let's think about what happened in the last year. So last year, we see the whole crypto market turmoil, right? So especially in November, Sam Bankman-Fried, right? The FTX, indeed, it's a fraud. It's not just collapse, because they intentionally steal customer money for trading, for their other business, for donation. So therefore, but however, you look at the day, November 7th, SBF, Sam, he still quoted, FTX is fine, assets are fine. Let's look at what happened in the last 2 weeks. Now this is Uncle Sam. So yesterday, or 2 days ago, sorry, I cannot read, Chairman Powell said, the banking system is fine and sound. So will you believe it? You know, it's so similar, right? Sorry, I cannot read it very clearly. So anyway, everything is fine. We are fine too. So, and now we all know the end of story. And this year, after a series of bank run, yeah. So Mr. Powell is saying the bank system is so safe and sound. But who knows the end of a new story? Let's just wait and see. And then, yes, thank you. Thank you, everyone, and thank you, Satoshi.
Awesome, awesome. Very, very funny. Well, Jack, we have time for one question, Jack. I know we're keeping a tight schedule because Muzz is going to be up next. But if you have time, does anybody have one question for Jack? Okay.
And
yeah, Jack, thanks. So, you know, Balaji is ringing the alarm, like saying, among other things, that they're blocking the exits. The government will make it very hard for people to run to Bitcoin once, you know, it gets serious. So you have a unique insight because you live and operate at a significant scale, not only in Asia, but in China, where these controls have been in place for a few years now, and they seem to be quite effective. You can still do small-scale P2P in China, like, you know, RMB or USD to Bitcoin, but very difficult. Because like help maybe in a phrase like help us wake up that this is real, it's happening, and how do you feel about like the people in China and around, like when they need to fly to Bitcoin, what are these governmental obstacles? Like help us get a feeling.
Okay, yeah, got it. Yeah, I think let me answer you in two parts. First is talk about the Bitcoin seizure bill, something like that, like the goal, right? 1933 in US. I think this time, yeah, people, I think this day also talk about this, say possible there's some seizure bill, something like that, to ban the Bitcoin, even USG, you know. So, but I think this time is more difficult. How can you get my Bitcoin? How do you know my 12 word, 24 words, right? I mean, this is because this kind of a digital store of value make this whole thing become more difficult. But I think what the government can do is that, of course, maybe for example, like a US or many countries, you have to pay tax if you have some capital gain. You've been deemed as a capital gain. You have to pay tax. You cannot do money laundering. You cannot do other, right, against the law. that I think the seizure of a Bitcoin, this kind of digital asset, will be more and more difficult. Especially also, as people say, it's no CEO, right? Of a Bitcoin, you cannot, right? Even they can investigate Coinbase, they can sue Coinbase, but how can you, right? So I think in reality, it's not that easy. This is the first part of my answer. So the second part, I think for China, I think China is a little bit different. I still like to use the Balaji, since you mentioned about Balaji's call. Yeah, because I knew him many years, 8 years at least. Yeah, so I think US, the NYT, the US dollar, the US government represent, right? The New York Times versus BTC. And the other top triangle is CCP, right? CCP, NYT, BTC, right? I think these two now are fighting, right? NYT and BTC, right? More libertarian versus, yeah, the US establishment. However, CCP part, I think is in a very, I would say, because I've been living in China total almost 16 years. I came from Taiwan, but my work, I've been in China most of my time. So although I travel a lot, but I think China has a very different way to do their own business. I mean, let's not talk about the cryptocurrencies. You can see from other, like what recent move, even including the Russia and Ukraine war. You see what President Xi doing, right? He didn't do anything until recently visit President Putin, and then yeah. So I think China now, you know, this is my very bold observation. I don't think China, if a Bitcoin is going to be the global reserve currency, I don't think China government will miss this trend at all. Yeah, we know China has already converted the US dollar reserve into gold, into other, maybe study Europe, especially gold for the last 1 year or 2 years. However, because given, as I said, CNY, RMB won't be not easy to become a global reserve currency. So based on what we talk here, I think if a Bitcoin is going to, regardless, to be the global reserve currency as the best store of value, much better than gold, then China government will find out. Indeed, China government, what they are doing now, you see how smartly they are, is recently they've been used. This is I would say is a more confirmed information I can share with you because some of my source is quite reliable. They are using Hong Kong now as a one country, two system, right? Hong Kong to try for this financial innovation. Of course, not talk about only Bitcoin, but the entire cryptocurrency. So therefore, we know, right? Hong Kong is gonna do, SFC gonna to have some regulation on at least the major 7 or how many crypto, right? Trading, even for consumer, for individual. Indeed, this is all been, I would say it's been under the, I don't want to say agreement, or at least it's under the direction of Beijing. So China used Hong Kong as because of one country, two system. Especially Hong Kong is also Asia financial hub, right? To try and to test this new industry, new area.
That's a good point. I know, you know, they kind of scared off a lot of crypto and Bitcoin companies out of Hong Kong, and it seems like as of late they've been kind of welcoming them back. It seems like, and like you said, maybe they're going to use it as a test bed, you know, to hedge their bets. You know, their own CBDC, and maybe they're kind of going, what if Bitcoin becomes the reserve currency? So we might as well figure that out. So one last question here from Elizabeth, and then we'll get Muzz up there.
First of all, thank you for this talk. You touched upon many of my favorite topics, especially as of late, and the slides were awesome as well, the SPF image and all of that. So thank you. I'm very interested in the broader macro environment, of course, how Bitcoin and Lightning plays into that. So my question is around this concept of Operation Choke Point 2.0. And for those that are not familiar with that, check out Nick Carter's work. He's been writing about this. But basically, the idea is there's been an ongoing and coordinated effort in the U.S. to debank or shut down, banks associated with Bitcoin and cryptocurrency broadly. And we saw recently with the shutdown of Signature Bank, which many people believe was not actually insolvent. Again, check out Nick's work. He's been really on the case. A number of other people have been researching it, tweeting about it, journalists looking into it, etc. Interestingly, when that bank was sold in the US to, after it was shut down by the government, both in New York and then the FDIC and the federal government in the US working with it, they didn't take on, shockingly, the quote unquote digital banking customers, AKA the crypto customers, many of which were dealing with Bitcoin. So again, not actually shocking. That was not surprising to us because we believe this is part of this broader effort to not provide banking services to these companies. So my question is, do you see this, whatever you want to call it, Operation Choke Point 2.0 or other effort to debank Bitcoin and cryptocurrency companies as an opportunity globally for the Asian region? And how do you see that playing out in the global sphere?
Okay, yeah, very good question. Indeed, I've been thinking about, because I know the news, people talk about US government is shutting down the on-ramp, off-ramp of cryptocurrency, right? Not only Bitcoin. Okay, let me answer you also from, I think also two parts. First part is that you think about, maybe this is from a more macro perspective. I'm talking about the macro of the whole industry, not the macro economy. Because you see, so many crypto, 20,000, more than 20,000 crypto, right? This is, people want to, most of those crypto guys, they want to make money quick. So this become a very chaotic, like what happened last year, the whole year, right? So I think for US government, when they talk about crypto or Bitcoin, indeed they are talking about crypto. For example, I would say like Coinbase case, right? Coinbase 5 years ago, only like 2 or 3 coin to be traded. But now maybe, I don't know, 100. You think about even the most legit crypto exchange now have so many coins. Because, as I said, the whole industry grew too wild. And because of, this is not like a AI or like an internet before. Because of this can, with the token. And also, there's those crypto casino, right? I mean, there's crypto exchange, unregulated, so many. Then to foster people, speculator, want to make money quick. Why I'm saying this, to answer your question, is because over the last few years, since especially 2017, ICO, and then bull market, and then come down, and then DeFi, and the last 2 years, NFT, Web3, narrative, etc. So, because the whole market is so crazy. That's why the government treat the whole thing as the crackdown. Indeed, this is very similar to what China has done. 2017, shut down the exchange, September, and later shut down the mining, shut down the other crypto, last 2 years. So I think it's so similar because it's so messy. And I don't think government, even people like us, we spend so many years learning about the blockchain and crypto and Bitcoin thing. How can the incumbent government in the older generation, how can they learn about this? So therefore, the only way to do is a shutdown. Because those, if all the way only Bitcoin, only this Bitcoin only, without those crypto, then this China or even US, this kind of shutdown won't happen. So that's my first part of answer. And the second part is that, I'm sorry, can you more, is specific to the question again? I forget.
Well, is the debanking, and by the way, to be fair, there are a lot of, regarding scams is one thing, but there are a lot of very legitimate companies that
Yeah, definitely. I'm not saying 100%.
But you know what I mean?
Yeah, I'm not saying 100%.
Is this an opportunity, the systematic debanking, denying access to these companies, many of whom are regarded as legitimate, hopefully, elsewhere globally, especially in the Asian region. Basically, regulatory arbitrage or an opportunity if, the US government is saying, we're cracking down on this, we don't like Bitcoin, especially looking at Bitcoin and Lightning, from my perspective, okay, can they go to the Asian region where people will actually, give them access to fiat rails and treat it more friendly from a regulatory perspective?
Okay, yeah, I see. As a previous answer to Andrew's question, yeah, you see, in this region now we see the most promised area or country for doing this pivot, this testing run or whatever, is Hong Kong, right? I think Hong Kong have this financial management experience and the regulation, etc. I believe they can do something out of that. Yeah. So I think in the future, hopefully, I mean, after, I don't know, 1 year, 2 year, few years, Hong Kong, this trial run, they can find out something in the future, also, I would say, in the longer run, Bitcoin is the Bitcoin. Bitcoin is the alternative to the fiat currency, to US dollar, okay? The better store of value. The rest crypto, I would say, just like you say, not 100% are bad projects. Still some are good projects. However, it gotta be regulated. It gotta be regulated as a digital equity, as a digital security, right? Like a US, right? SEC security is security, and then you follow the rule to be traded in NASDAQ or some exchange. That's okay. So that's a project. That's a project. That's not the money. For sure, you know, only Bitcoin is the money. The other is the project. It's like the next phase, Google, next Amazon. I think that's okay. So I think in this region, currently I haven't seen other countries, because, sorry, I've been so familiar with Singapore over the last few years. So that's why I don't want to comment on Singapore. I don't think, I'm not that positive. But I think, as I say, Greater China, even Taiwan, I don't think so. I mean, in the near term, because they will be the follower. They follow US, follow China, something like that, you know. So Hong Kong will be the.
Yeah, I agree. I think Hong Kong is starting to step up and trying to welcome more crypto back. And I think maybe Singapore overregulated. I think they tried to be that welcoming country. I think they overregulated things, and as you saw, I mean, obviously bad actors left and good actors stayed, but I think they did overregulate. And I actually think that because there's a huge competition between Singapore and Hong Kong. They're always competing about who's the better market in Southeast Asia. So I think that as Hong Kong opens up their doors back to crypto, I actually think that the Payment Services Act in Singapore, I think it's going to loosen a little bit, because I think they've over-regulated, and in order for them to compete for those startups, I think Singapore is going to have to back off a little bit. But anyway, we'll wrap it up there, guys. I know we're going to try and keep a tight schedule here. All right, so thank you very much, and give them a round of applause.